Moments later, the deputy realizes a passenger has a gun. Bullets fly before officers fire back, one of them firing on the driver's side with the driver sitting right there. The gunman died at the scene.
All right, welcome back to Surviving the Badge. We are at the Surviving the Badge bar today, and we are going to talk about how we got here. This is a Glock 22 40 caliber handgun, and but before we do that, we're going to cover our fallen officer moment. And we've had, last year we had 124. This year so far, 4. And hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah.
To our fallen officers,
Salute.
Salute you.
We are allowed to sip the show beer for this reason only.
All right, John, we've got a beer moment. Go ahead with it.
Today we're going to do Founder's Porter. It has roasted coffee notes, graham cracker sweetness.
First time I'm drinking this.
Well, all right, while these guys are judging it, I'm going to talk about our sponsors. Our beer sponsors come to you by Kristen and Tom Clem, Realtors in Central Florida. If you guys are ready to buy or sell, please call Kristen and Tom Clem Realtors. They will take care of you. They are amazing people. Their information is linked down below in the comments. And also Clem Property Investments. When you're ready to buy or sell that piece of property or just get the heck out of it and move on, make sure you contact Tom with Clem Property Investments. He'll take care of you. Again, all the information down there. Thank you for sponsoring our beer moment. We really appreciate it.
All right. So we're going to go on with the show about.
All right, listen real quick. All this equipment was brought to us by Half a Mind to Kick Your Ass Incorporated. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you very much. Salute. All right. So there might be some old jokes in this episode. I don't know. We'll see. So early firearms. Muzzle lock. How was it? How did it fire, LT? A flintlock. Muzzle lock.
So I bring the musket up, lay it reasonably parallel, and I open the pan. I'm going to reach into my cartridge pouch and withdraw a paper cartridge.
Keep your powder dry.
Keep your powder dry.
So some of the early, and it was actually difficult to find law enforcement firearm history, but I did some research, and obviously going back to the 17 and 1800s, law enforcement carried flintlocks and then percussion caps, and then finally they moved to the Colt 44 percussion cap in 1830. And that's, I mean, Colt, any Colt revolver, that's
when I went through the academy.
Right.
Yeah, beat y'all to it, bitches.
All right.
The first time.
Now, the early cartridges, and I'm going to get a little ammo nerdy here, not as far as some people.
You're going to get nerdy?
Right.
Look at that hair.
Yeah, this is a mess. It's a work in progress, my wife tells me. So when it comes to cartridges, obviously the original cartridges were ball and powder and wadding, and then they developed almost like a together cartridge, not what we have today. And then eventually we moved to a together real cartridge. And law enforcement, one of their first law enforcement cartridge revolvers was a Colt 1860 Army and Navy.
Gun sights are typical of that of any Colt revolver of the time. A rear notch ground into the hammer nose and a front blade sight. The heart of the gun is the distinctive stepped cylinder. It has a naval battle scene roll engraved into it, which is a nice feature for what was a standard issue pistol.
And I mean, who doesn't want one of those in their arsenal?
But if you had one of those, you have some money.
Right? Yeah. So, who developed the first double action revolver?
Winchester.
No.
Colt.
No. Smith & Wesson in 1880 developed the first double action. And if you don't know what a double action revolver is, you can fire it just by pulling the trigger or by pulling the hammer back.
Hence. 2 actions,
Right.
double action.
LT, what was your first handgun? I know we fuck around and we talk about you having a flintlock, but what was your
In law
first
enforcement?
duty handgun?
It was a stainless steel 357. No, I'm sorry. The one I bought to go through the academy was a Ruger Security 6 357 Magnum.
Okay.
Revolver.
Yeah.
Great freaking gun.
Ruger made good guns.
Great gun.
What was
and then
your-
the second one, or the
Sorry.
one that I got when I went on duty, was a 66.
66. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I carried
A
too. My
stainless
first
66.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
first
Smith and Wesson.
Yep,
Yeah.
Smith and Wesson. John?
Yep.
Glock?
Glock.
It's the only thing I ever carried on duty.
Yeah.
Yep. That's when because we transitioned in 93. Yeah, 93,
To semi-auto?
94.
which is what we're going to talk about now.
Yep.
Colt through in 1911 and came the semi-auto handguns, and it was available to some agencies. Some agencies carried, like New York and Baltimore carried, and Boston carried the Colt 1911s, but most still carried revolvers.
38s.
Yeah, 38 police specials.
Yeah.
Now, when did that change? When did the vast majority of all agencies change from revolvers to semi-autos? And what spurred it? Any
Want
guesses?
the decade or?
Yeah, give me the decade. That's fine.
70s?
I would say probably the 1980s.
Okay. You're right on that. 1980s. Why? There was something that happened in the
Yes,
in 1980s.
it was
Actually,
the,
a couple of things. But
It was the bank robbery in
The LA bank? robbery?
in Miami
there we go.
that spurred that, and that also spurred us carrying long guns in our vehicles too.
Well,
from
the
then
the
on.
LA
LA was the
or
one.
the LA one
Yeah.
was the long guns, but the bank robbery down south was the automatic.
So there were
guys
two,
are running out of ammo.
yeah, there were two guys down in Miami going around committing bank robberies.
So I get
and-
another point.
half a point. Yeah. Because you mentioned LA. You kind of lost a point.
But I said Miami first.
I can't hear you. I have headphones on. So you got 1.5 points. So what happened was in the 1980s, a couple of things was going on. The crack epidemic, and everybody had handguns, and law enforcement was getting really outgunned. But one of the things that really a turning point in it was there was a couple of bank robbers down in Miami, and they were ruthless. They were killing people, robbing armored cars and banks, and just shooting people up with a Mini 14. And the FBI caught up with them. And when they stopped them, all the FBI agents except for one ran out of ammo, and they actually killed one of them with a non-survivable wound, and even though he was going to die no matter what, he still killed 2 FBI agents.
Yep.
And this really spurred law enforcement to get into a semi-automatic, more
Why didn't Crockett
ammo.
and Tubbs solve that problem?
Oh, right.
Miami Vice, they should have solved that earlier. We shouldn't have had that problem.
That's true.
John lives in TV land.
Right. All right. So
All sorts of useless
most
information.
popular semi-autos in the 80s was Smith & Wessons and Glocks. Now, I have a quiz for you. You call in by name, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you famous lawmen and their guns, both historical and fictional.
Okay.
Okay? So, buzz in with your name if you have the answer. Wyatt Earp.
Ronnie,
Ronnie.
the Colt 45.
I'm going to give it to you. It was a Colt Buntline 45.
Peacemaker.
Yeah. Well, it was the Buntline, not Peacemaker. But yeah. Okay. Colt Army. Good. All right. Dirty Harry.
Ronnie,
You should have had that one.
Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum.
44 Magnum. Take your head clean off.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel lucky, kid.
Bass Reeves.
You a lawman or an outlaw?
Bit of both, I reckon.
Colt 45 Peacemaker.
You really don't want me to talk in the show at all, do you?
That's the goal.
All right. So I'm going to give you a name. You tell me what made him famous and then what kind of gun he had.
Seriously?
Yeah. Bob Ford. He's the guy who killed Jesse James.
Okay.
So that made him famous.
Yep.
And he used a Colt Commander.
Nope.
Lever action rifle.
No. 44 Smith & Wesson.
Are these all going to be handguns?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Columbo.
38 special. What made him famous?
No. What gun did he carry?
He carried a Saturday night special.
And I know this guy's killing you. It's a trick question. He never carried a gun.
Okay.
But he drove a Peugeot.
He did drive a Peugeot, but he never carried a gun.
Wow, I got something right.
He actually had somebody in one of the episodes. He had somebody go to the range and qualify for him because some LT would do.
Yeah, because he was like this.
All right. Last one. Bosch.
Go back to the car. Go back to the car. Go back! Go!
Ronnie. Bosch carried a 45 Colt.
So close.
Sig.
Kimber.
Yes. Come on. And I love that show too. I watched every episode. But it wasn't 45 though.
It was 45.
Yes.
Yeah, it was 45.
So I get a half a point?
1911, 45. Yeah, I'll give you half a point.
Oh, yeah, because you want to beat me more?
So John has a total of
half.
0. You do have a half point.
Well, he said LA, which wasn't the answer, but we'll give him half.
Yeah, but I also pulled out Sonny, Crockett and Tubbs. So
yeah,
I should get
I'll give you half
point.
bonus. So John has half point, and LT I think has 4-ish.
3.5, 4. Yeah, something like that.
We'll round up to 4. All right. So my first semi-automatic gun.
So what do I win, dude?
You win bragging rights.
Oh, well, again?
Yes. John, I tell you what, you give me a topic and I'll make a quiz on it. How's that?
All right.
Okay. So
it's going to be all about Jersey.
Okay. The Garden State.
That's right.
The garbage state? Is that what you said?
Hey, we might have listeners from there, so
that's okay.
Be nice.
We love you listeners, but that state. Anyway.
All right. So one of the most popular semi-autos in the 80s and 90s was the Glock. It was superior and still is today. 65% of all agencies are still carrying the Glock. And why do you think that is, LT?
Because it's proven non-failure rate.
Yeah, reliability. One of the reasons I have...
I couldn't think of the word, so I went around it.
Bad failure rate.
Non-failure rate.
So there's
not fail.
So if you don't know handguns, some handguns have external safeties, some have manual safeties. The Glock has internal safeties, and it doesn't have a switch on or off, so you can, which is good for law enforcement because when the fecal matter hits the oscillator, we're not going to remember to take the switch off of safety. So it's good. And it has 3 internal safeties, a drop safety, a trigger safety. And it's a very, very safe gun as long as your finger's not on the trigger, which every gun is loaded. Don't keep your finger on the trigger. Know your backstop. And don't point at anything you're not willing to destroy. Remember that. It was reliable. Now, I was surprised. I looked at LT's gun here. It's clean, so good for you.
Clean as a whistle.
It's oiled well.
That is my retirement service weapon that the department gave me when I retired. That's the one I carried on duty. That's the one they gave me.
It also had a good capacity. When I carried a revolver, we had 6 shots in the gun, and we had 2 speed loaders. And this one carries, was it 15, 14, and 1?
15 and 1.
Yep.
15.
So it more than doubles what a revolver has. The reload capacity, reload time was amazing. You had to, transition from it, but it was still
sure beats
very
the old
good.
speed loader, drop in the 6 bullets and close the friggin' chamber.
Now, if you want to see somebody quick with a speed loader, watch some videos on Jerry Michalak.
Oh my God!
Just
he's
unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Right? John, you know who that is, right?
He can load one of them faster than you and I can load
he
that.
had the world record for 12 shots with a revolver
it's unbelievable.
With a reload.
In 1999, Jerry set a world record using a stripped-down Smith & Wesson revolver. firing 12 shots on a target with a single reload in just under 3 seconds.
Some other famous handguns was the SIG. SIG's a great gun, expensive as hell. Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson went through a little bit of a trouble patch because with a Glock, it will fire without the magazine in it. And the earlier Smith & Wesson semi-autos, it had to disengage when you took the magazine out and
the
wouldn't
first
fire.
one I had was like a 45-16 or something like that. It was a 9mm with CCIB. It was stainless, and yeah, it wouldn't fire with the mag out. It would not
Didn't
fire.
someone think the Glocks wouldn't fire without?
Yeah, I got a call because I was our range instructor, and I got a call one day, and this officer said, "Hey, Camille, these Glocks aren't supposed to fire with the magazine out, right?" And I'm like, "Oh no, they're fine. They will totally fire without the magazine out." And he's like, "Okay." Yeah.
Who was that?
No, I'm not.
No,
was it you?
no.
It was not John.
Oh, okay.
It was not John.
Was it an AD somewhere?
No,
Yeah,
well,
it was an AD. Yes.
Similar to the previous case.
Yes, there was an AD. Nobody got hurt, but it happened. All right. So besides handguns, some of the most popular guns are shotguns. And my first shotgun was a Remington 870, and I'm sure yours was too, LT.
Tried and true, buddy.
Right. In 1900s, 1950. The Remington 870 came out.
Yeah.
A beautiful gun, awesome and devastating.
Every
Shotgun.
police car in America had a Remington 870 Express or whatever in it. Yeah, I've still got my 870 Express.
Well, the best thing is on a felony stop. Everyone's got their handguns out, MP5s out, or whatever. And then all of a sudden you hear someone racking a shotgun.
Yeah.
Everyone turns around, even the bad guys, like,
yeah, what the hell was that noise? Yeah.
You hear that shotgun rack?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yep. So, yeah, the Remington 870 dominated law enforcement in the 1970s, 1980s. And right now they're more used for less lethal rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Super Sock or
everyone's one with the MP4s now.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about patrol rifles. So
or the M4s. I'm sorry, not the MP.
John, you mentioned L.A. What happened in L.A. that really forced law enforcement to move away from the shotgun into a patrol rifle?
Well, it was a bank robbery suspects. They were chasing them, and they had AR-15s or whatever they were.
Yeah, they had a fully automatic AK-47.
Officers find themselves against a fully automatic modified AK-47 with armored piercing bullets. Two bank robbers wearing body armor unleash a barrage of ammunition unlike anything police have ever dealt with.
He's wearing heavy body armor, so he's not knocking down at all.
Outgunned officers take cover where they can, behind parked cars, behind buildings. But all the cover provides is a veil. The gunman's powerful bullets tear through concrete and metal and find their targets.
Officer down, officer down.
Police return fire, but their 9mm bullets only chip away at the building. The gunmen are unfazed. They continue to launch 10 rounds per second at everything in sight.
Yeah.
And law enforcement had shotguns.
Shotguns and Berettas.
You can't. You got to have equal firepower.
Yeah. And these bad guys had armor.
Completely armored.
Everything but like their head.
Yep.
Yeah.
But their head and their feet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, the Hollywood robbery, there's a really good video on that. And
there's a movie about it.
Yeah. And they just start blasting. And law enforcement they're just pinned down. Luckily, no officers died in that, but many were shot.
They were effed up, though.
Yeah.
There was a couple of them effed up by gunfire.
Right.
If Camille was there, he would have been underneath the vehicle and shot them on their instep, and they wouldn't have been able to walk away.
Well, that's what. So they finally got one of them, and then he took care of him. He tapped himself, and then the second one tried to carjack a truck. And that didn't work out. And the SWAT team, that's what they did. They shot under the vehicle and they shot him in the legs and he fell down and then they took him out that way.
Took him out in the head.
So yeah,
But they kept asking people, does anybody have a long gun? Does anybody have a long gun? Does anybody have a long gun? And they did not have it.
I heard that they broke into a gun shop. Is that what happened?
And got MP4s or I'm sorry, M4s or well, back then they were just M16s.
Right. Yeah.
And they had to have something. They couldn't go through the body armor.
Right.
And these guys are shooting 7.62 freaking millimeter AK-47s, dude.
Yeah.
They'll go right through a car door like butter.
With drum ammunition. Yeah. I mean, and the helicopters just filming that. It's crazy.
Bad news, man.
Yep. Now, yes and no. I would love to have been a cop in the 30s, only for one reason.
Because you're the partner with Ronnie?
Yes. That would be the second reason.
Prohibition?
Tommy guns. Cops had Tommy guns. I mean, a 45 Thompson fully auto. I shot one. They are amazing. I would love that. So that was probably one of the first incidences where law enforcement actually had some good firepower.
But I'll tell you what, though, man.
And then it kind of went away.
My son had one.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of the longer barrel one, but he had one. That, they show them and they're wheeling them around, holding them in one hand. Let me tell you something. That's a heavy son of a bitch,
man. That's all steel.
I mean, it is like 16 pounds. And when you add a drum, probably like 20 pounds in one hand.
Yeah.
And it's freaking like that long. I mean, it ain't some little, Uzi or something that you just wheel around.
It's like, I think it was Schwarzenegger. It may have been Stallone. But he's carrying 2 shotguns.
Oh, yeah. Come on, that's probably both of them.
Yeah. The movies,
right?
Yeah, and then Stallone in First Blood, he takes the M60 off the freaking tank or whatever and wraps the bandolier around his arm, and he's shooting an M60 with one. I'm like, okay.
So law enforcement went away from the Tommy guns after the 30s and really didn't pick up patrol rifles until like the late 80s and 90s. I remember with our agency we had MP5s, which I thought was a good try. And then finally, law enforcement has ARs and M4s and some good armament.
With the 5.56 round, yeah.
You walk back outside the house and had a backpack on. No, did you follow our medicine? Sorry, no medicine. How like we reloaded? Reloaded. Are those shots coming from the outside? I don't know.
X-ray 316, shot fired, suspect's down. He's on Madison, just south of 67.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Another good thing that law enforcement is going to, and I'll wrap this up. I could talk about guns all day long, but yeah, a lot of law enforcement agencies are going to red dots.
Our agency just transferred to the red dots here within the last 2 months.
Finally.
Yeah, they got red dots on them.
So the reason
takes some getting used to shoot those though.
The reason for that is when you're using a regular rear sight and front sight, you have to close one eye, and it doesn't happen when you're in combat. And what's nice is the red dot you can fire with both eyes open, and it's more of an index shooting. And a lot of agencies wisely are moving to a red dot system.
Ours finally did after since '94 of having the automatic, we finally went to that.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. I hope you enjoyed our walk down memory lane.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Law enforcement. Yep.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, please. We are at 5. Right at about 550. We've got several thousand views in the last few weeks, actually, like the last month. So we want to keep it rolling, guys. We want to get to that 1,000 so that we can bring you this stuff, out here on the fly. Because we want to go to like some places and do some shows, and we can't do that until we get to 1,000.
Give us some suggestions as to quizzes that will also let John get 0 points, and we'll do them. Give us some suggestions as to episodes, and always like and subscribe and notify, and always at Surviving the Badge.
We still got your 6. Guys and gals, be careful out there.